Our last story of today's programme, with the appointment of Redditch's Rachel Maclean as the latest in a long line of housing ministers. Let's take a little look back on the Ministers of State for Housing since 2013. There we go. We have Lucy Fraser, October to February 2023. Lucy Fraser there, sorry. Then we have Lee Rowley. Then we have Marcus Jones. Then we have Stuart Andrew, February 22 to July 22, Chris Pincher, February 2020 to February 22, Esther McVeigh, July 2019 to February 2020, Kit Malthouse. Then we have Dominic Raab, January 2018 to July 2018, Alok Sharma, June 2017 to January 2018, Gavin Barwell, July 2016 to June 2017, Brandon Lewis. Then we have Chris Hopkins, Mark Brisk, and finally, Grant Shapps. Right, there we go. A long list of housing ministers. We've had more than our fair share there. I am joined now by Freddie Poser, Director of PricedOut UK. Freddie, 15 housing ministers since 2010. Is this the reason why we failed to get to grips with the housing crisis?
Well, it certainly can't help. No. I think that it's a symptom rather than the cause of the issue. When the position was created many years ago, housing was seen as the first public service. A real political heavyweight should be in that job. Now it's seen as this junior position that you get and then you move up. And as you can see, the consequence of that, we've had 15 since 2010, and we've had 6 in the last year. So no one's staying in the role and paying attention to this crucial issue. And there's a huge amount in the in-tray for the housing minister to deal with. There's mould in buildings, there's the building safety crisis, there's the housing crisis itself. This takes real political will and someone to put in a lot of effort, and you can't do that if you've only got, like the last housing minister, 3 months in the job. So what we need, and I'm sure Rachel Maclean's got a huge amount of experience in planning and infrastructure, and I'm sure she can do a good job, but we need someone to stay in that job, focus on the issues, and actually deliver the change that we need to see. Yes,
I mean, you could say this about many departments. Many Secretary of State positions in this country and ministerial positions they always change hands. It's always a new person doing the top job, and it doesn't seem to be an effective way of doing government. If you had a business that was constantly changing its chief executive, you'd probably have the same problem. So what should the new housing minister be focusing on day one?
Well, I think part of the issue is the supply of housing. I think that the real cause of our housing crisis is we haven't built enough homes for many decades. This is a particularly thorny political issue, and other secretaries of state in Levelling Up and ministers have tried and failed to grapple with this question. We need to make sure that houses are being built. One of the things that a housing minister can do best at the moment is pay attention to the Levelling Up Bill and street votes, which are in the Levelling Up Bill. I think those have a lot of promise to deliver quite a few houses. But more generally, we need to take a look at what is stopping these houses getting built, and what can central government, local government, and with the housing minister sort of playing between those, what can make that happen?
Now, a lot of our viewers will either themselves or have children who are renting in the private rental market, and if they've had a look at Rightmove or spareroom.com and all sorts of sites that show properties, they'll see that rents have skyrocketed. What can the government do when it comes to that? Of course, the Labour Party, including Sadiq Khan, have been talking about rent controls. That seems to me the wrong solution. What should the government be doing when it comes to the rental market?
Well, unfortunately, the rental market is a really big issue. And I agree with you, rent controls are not a solution. They will only make the problem worse in the long term, whilst a privileged few stay in rent-controlled housing. We see this across the world when it's tried. It does not make things better. It can really kill cities. So I think rent control is a bad answer, but that doesn't necessarily mean we have a better answer, especially in the short term. In the medium and long term, we need to get that supply up. We need to, in our cities, especially London, we need to increase gentle density, slowly make better use of existing land so that more people can live here, and that rents fall and that values per unit come down.
What do you say to people who might be sitting at home thinking, I don't want any more development in my area. You know, I bought my home or rented my home when they're, you know, for a reason, in an area that was less densely populated. What do you say to those people? Are they being selfish?
Well, everyone's always being selfish in the market. That's how these things work. I think we need to find ways to bring people like that along with us. I think previous Secretaries of State and housing ministers have tried to ignore those concerns, and it simply hasn't worked.
No.
So things like street votes and other policies in those veins try, well, how can we actually generate the consensus that leads to more building? The outcome we need is more building. It's about finding solutions that are going to work to get us there.
There we go. More building is needed, but I would like more beautiful buildings to be built. There are some absolutely monstrosities out there. Thank you very much indeed, Freddie Poser, Director of PricedOut UK.